December 17th, 1944, Bastogne, Belgium. 17-year-old Private James Jimmy Walker crouched behind frozen rubble, holding nothing but a slingshot his kid brother made from scrap tire rubber. Above him, a German sniper had pinned down an entire American platoon for 3 hours. 42 men trapped, 6 already dead. Command radioed. Reinforcements 12 hours out. They'd all be corpses by then. Then Jimmy did something so absurd, so tactically insane, that it would be declassified only in 1989. What happened next defied every principle of warfare. The temperature hovered at 14 degrees Fahrenheit when the German bullet tore through Sergeant Morrison's helmet at precisely 08:47 hours, December 17th, 1944. The shot came from somewhere in the skeletal remains of Bastogne's bombed-out textile factory, 300 yards northeast. Morrison dropped instantly. The platoon, 2nd Squad, Baker Company, 101st Airborne, froze in the snow-covered street. No one moved for 7 minutes. Lieutenant Marcus Webb pressed himself against a shattered storefront, his breath forming white clouds in the bitter cold. 42 men scattered across 60 yards of open ground, pinned down by a single shooter they couldn't locate. The factory loomed like a broken jaw against the grey sky, its windows empty eye sockets, any one of which could hide death. Anyone got eyes on the shooter? Webb's voice crackled through the frozen air. Silence. Then Corporal Davis pressed flat behind an overturned supply truck. Negative, sir. Could be anywhere in that structure. 5 floors, maybe 200 windows. The tactical mathematics were brutal and simple, and the German sniper held perfect overwatch of the only street connecting Baker Company to their objective. The crossroads 200 yards south, where American forces desperately needed reinforcements to hold against the German counteroffensive that would become the Battle of the Bulge. Every minute this platoon remained pinned represented another minute the line weakened. Sergeant Kowalski tried moving. The bullet hit the brick wall 18 inches from his head before he completed 2 steps. The platoon collectively winced. "Jesus Christ," someone whispered. "Somebody radio command," Webb ordered. "Tell them we need air support, artillery, something. We can't move." Private Rodriguez worked the radio, his hands shaking from cold and adrenaline. "Command says negative on air support, sir. Fog's too thick for planes. Artillery's engaged 3 miles north. Said they'll try to send a tank in maybe 6 hours. 6 hours. Webb did the calculation instantly. The German offensive was pushing hard. 6 hours meant the crossroads would fall, the line would break. Men would die because one sniper in one building controlled one street. He'd already sent 2 men trying to flank the factory. Both retreated under fire, one with a bullet through his canteen. The sniper had angles on everything. Private James Walker lay behind a pile of frozen rubble, 23 yards from Lieutenant Webb. At 17, Jimmy was the youngest man in Baker Company, having lied about his age to enlist in Detroit 15 months earlier. His hands gripped his M1 Garand, but his mind worked through a different problem entirely. In his coat pocket, wrapped in oilcloth, was the slingshot his 9-year-old brother Elijah had made him before deployment. Tire rubber and hardwood from their father's workshop behind the automotive plant where both men had worked before Pearl Harbor. Elijah had pressed it into Jimmy's hands at the train station. "Keep you safe," the kid had said. Jimmy had carried it through basic training at Fort Benning, through the crossing on the USS Monticello, through the drop into Normandy that scattered his unit across dark French fields, a stupid talisman, a toy, completely useless in modern warfare. But Jimmy Walker hadn't survived 17 years in Detroit's Black Bottom neighborhood by ignoring unconventional solutions. He watched the factory for patterns. The sniper fired whenever someone moved significantly, deliberate, patient, professional. Single shots, no wasted ammunition. That meant discipline. That meant training. That also meant predictability. "Lieutenant," Jimmy called quietly. Webb glanced over. "Walker?" "Sir, I got an idea. Sounds crazy. We're pinned down by one shooter in sub-zero weather waiting to die or freeze to death, Walker. Crazy's all we got left. Jimmy crawled closer, snow soaking through his uniform. That sniper's good, sir, real good. But he's watching for movement, threats, soldiers. What if we make him shoot at something that ain't a threat? Something he can't ignore but can't quite figure out. Webb stared at him. Explain. Distractions, sir. Multiple distractions. Make him think there's movement everywhere. Confuse his target priority. While he's looking everywhere, we move. And so what kind of distractions? Jimmy pulled out the slingshot. For 3 full seconds, Lieutenant Marcus Webb, West Point graduate, veteran of Sicily and Normandy, decorated officer, stared at the toy slingshot made from tire rubber and wood. Private, are you genuinely out of your mind? Maybe, sir, but I can put a rock through a window at 100 yards. Done it since I was 7. That sniper sees movement in windows he ain't watching. He's got to check it, got to respond. Means he ain't watching us. Webb looked at the factory, looked at his trapped platoon, looked at the slingshot again. God damn it, he muttered. Do it. Jimmy moved fast. He collected stones from the rubble around him. Not too large, not too small. Baseball-sized rocks for maximum noise, optimum distance. His hands worked automatically, muscle memory from 1,000 childhood games in Detroit alleyways, breaking streetlights, hitting targets other kids couldn't dream of reaching. Corporal Davis crawled over. Webb says you got some kind of plan with that toy? Yeah, but I need help. Need you passing word down the line. When that sniper starts shooting at windows, and he will, that's when people move. 1 man at a time, quick bursts, 10 seconds maximum. Davis looked skeptical but nodded. Roger that. Jimmy positioned himself behind the rubble pile, calculated angles and trajectories. The factory loomed 300 yards out, its shattered windows creating a grid of potential positions. The sniper was somewhere in there, probably 4th or 5th floor for elevation and sight lines. He loaded the first stone, drew back the rubber, released. The stones sailed in a high arc, struck a 3rd floor window with a crash of breaking glass. Nothing happened for 5 seconds. Then the sniper fired. The bullet struck the window frame Jimmy's stone had just hit. He took the bait, Jimmy whispered. He loaded another stone immediately, aimed at a window 40 feet left of the first. Released. Glass shattered. The sniper fired again, 3 seconds later, hitting that window's frame. Webb watched in disbelief. He's actually shooting at rocks. He don't know they're rocks, sir. All he knows is something's hitting windows. Could be grenades, could be soldiers. He's got to check. Jimmy established rhythm. Load, aim, release. Every 30 seconds, a new window. The sniper responded to each one, firing into the spaces Jimmy's stones struck. Each shot gave away information. The sniper was right side of the building, upper floors, moving between positions. Davis, move now, Webb ordered quietly. 10 yards south. Davis sprinted. Jimmy immediately launched another stone, distant window, loud crash. The sniper fired at the window, not at Davis. Davis made it safely behind a burned-out jeep. Rodriguez, go, Webb commanded. Jimmy's next stone hit a 5th floor window. Rodriguez ran. The sniper fired at the window. Rodriguez reached cover. But maintaining this operation under combat stress while freezing pushed Jimmy to his limits. His fingers grew numb handling cold stones. The slingshot's rubber stiffened in sub-zero temperatures, requiring harder pulls, more strength. His shoulders burned, his hands cramped. The tactical problem evolved rapidly. The sniper wasn't stupid. After 12 stones, 18 minutes of rock bombardment, the pattern became obvious. The German would adapt, change tactics, either ignore the distractions or start tracking trajectories back to Jimmy's position. We got maybe 10 more minutes before he figures it out, Jimmy told Webb between throws. Need to move everybody now. Webb made the call. All personnel prepare to move on my mark. When Walker launches the next distraction, you move fast. Don't stop until you reach the alley entrance 80 yards south. The plan required perfect execution. Jimmy would create maximum chaos while 41 men sprinted through open ground covered by a professional sniper who'd already demonstrated lethal accuracy. The next stone hit a fourth-floor window. Webb screamed, "Move, move, move!" 41 soldiers exploded from cover simultaneously. Jimmy launched stones rapid-fire, 7 seconds between each throw, hitting windows across the entire factory facade. Glass shattered in cascading sequence. The sniper fired, trying to track multiple movements through multiple distractions, his calculated patience breaking against pure chaos. Jimmy's arms screamed with lactic acid. The cold bit through his gloves. His breath came in ragged gasps, but he kept throwing, kept creating noise, kept pulling the sniper's attention away from the sprinting soldiers. 20 seconds, 30, 40. Men dove into the alley entrance. Davis pulled Rodriguez through. Kowalski grabbed a limping private and hauled him to safety. Webb counted heads as soldiers reached cover. 50 seconds. Jimmy launched his final stone, then sprinted himself. The sniper fired twice, bullets hitting snow where Jimmy had been crouching seconds earlier. Jimmy's boots slipped on ice. He stumbled, recovered, pushed harder. A bullet struck the brick wall beside his head, spraying fragments. He felt heat, pain, kept running. Arms grabbed him, pulled him into the alley. He collapsed against cold brick, gasping, heart hammering. "Head count!" Webb shouted. 41 present, sir, Davis reported. "Everybody made it." Silence fell, except for heavy breathing and the distant thunder of artillery miles away. 42 men, 41 now, Morrison already gone, had been pinned by a sniper for 3 hours. A 17-year-old kid with a toy slingshot had broken the deadlock in 90 seconds of sustained rock throwing. Lieutenant Webb stared at Jimmy, then at the slingshot still clutched in the teenager's hand. "Private Walker," Webb said slowly. "That was either the stupidest or the smartest goddamn thing I've seen in this entire war." 240 miles southeast, in a Wehrmacht command post outside Trier, Hauptmann Ernst Vogel reviewed after-action reports from the Bastogne sector with growing confusion. His best sniper, Scharfschütze Werner Kohl, credited with 63 confirmed kills, veteran of Stalingrad and Kursk, had radioed a report so bizarre that Vogel initially dismissed it as combat fatigue. "Sir, the American tactics at Bastogne are unconventional," Kohl's transmitted report stated. "They employed what appeared to be coordinated window strikes across multiple elevations while executing infantry movement, probable grenade barrage or mortar fragments, but angles suggest horizontal trajectory inconsistent with standard artillery. Recommend tactical doctrine review." Vogel frowned. Americans didn't use horizontal grenade throws in urban combat. Their doctrine emphasized vertical suppression, mortars, artillery, air support. The report made no tactical sense. "Cole's losing his edge," Vogel muttered to his aide, "probably seeing ghosts." But Cole wasn't the only one reporting anomalies. 3 additional sniper positions along the Bastogne perimeter filed similar accounts. Americans creating multiple simultaneous distractions that defied standard combat patterns. Small impacts, distributed chaos, unpredictable timing. German tactical doctrine, refined through years of Eastern Front brutality, emphasized disciplined fire control, calculated responses, systematic target elimination. Their snipers operated on mathematical principles, geometry, probability, patience. The American actions broke those mathematical models. Oberst Friedrich Steinmann, reviewing intelligence summaries in Luxembourg, noted the pattern with clinical interest. American forces in Bastogne were adapting with unusual speed. Pinned units escaped using tactics that Wehrmacht training manuals didn't address. Supply lines held, despite overwhelming German advantages. Defensive positions maintained cohesion, despite numerical inferiority. "They're improvising," Steinmann told his staff, "abandoning doctrine, unpredictable." His aide, a veteran of the Russian front, shook his head. "Improvisation breeds chaos. Chaos breeds defeat. They're making mistakes, we'll exploit." But that analysis proved incorrect. The Americans weren't making mistakes. They were creating new rules. Cole, repositioned to a different sector, encountered similar tactics 3 days later. A pinned American squad suddenly erupted with distracting fire, not at his position, but at random structures nearby. While Cole tracked the noise sources, the squad escaped, professional, tactical, completely contrary to expected behavior. When Cole finally examined the impact sites, he found something that made him radio command immediately with unprecedented urgency. "Sir, the projectiles aren't grenades. They're rocks. The Americans are throwing rocks." Vogel stared at the radio receiver. "Repeat that, Cole." "Rocks, sir, stones, launched with sufficient force to break windows at range, coordinated with infantry movement, deliberate tactical application." For 10 full seconds, Hauptmann Ernst Vogel, Iron Cross recipient, Eastern Front veteran, decorated officer with 7 years of combat experience, couldn't process the information. Americans were using slingshots in modern warfare against professional snipers, and it was working. The tactical implications horrified him. German sniper doctrine assumed rational responses to conventional threats. Soldiers, weapons, predictable tactics. But rocks launched by slingshots weren't in the manual, weren't part of the mathematical model, weren't something training addressed. How do you counter a weapon that shouldn't exist in 20th century combat? Vogel drafted urgent tactical briefings for all sniper units. Watch for non-standard projectiles, ignore low-threat distractions, maintain focus on actual combatants. But the briefings arrived too late, distributed too slowly through Wehrmacht's rigid command structure. Meanwhile, Jimmy Walker's innovation spread through the 101st Airborne like wildfire. Other soldiers crafted their own slingshots from salvaged materials. Sergeant Davis improvised a version using parachute cord. Corporal Martinez built one from rifle strap and hardwood stock. Within a week, Baker Company had 17 functional slingshots deployed across the Bastogne perimeter. The Germans couldn't adapt fast enough. Their tactical training, their mathematical precision, their disciplined doctrine, all optimized for conventional warfare, couldn't process unconventional thinking fast enough to develop countermeasures. American pragmatism, the willingness to abandon doctrine when reality demanded it, the capacity to innovate under pressure, the refusal to accept impossible as an answer, created a tactical advantage that German rigidity couldn't overcome. The siege of Bastogne ended January 9, 1945, after 23 days of brutal combat. American forces held against overwhelming German offensive. The 101st Airborne's defense became legendary. Historians focused on artillery, on leadership, on the famous nuts response to German surrender demands. Almost nobody mentioned the slingshots. Private James Walker survived the war. He returned to Detroit in August 1945, received his honorable discharge, found work in the Ford River Rouge plant alongside his father. He married, had 4 children, worked 43 years in quality control. He rarely spoke about the war except at VFW gatherings, where other veterans understood. The official after-action reports from Bastogne, declassified in phases between 1975 and 1989, contained brief mentions of improvised distraction devices and unconventional tactical solutions. Historians initially dismissed these references as errors or exaggerations. Then, in 1987, a military researcher named Dr. Patricia Morrison, no relation to the sergeant killed that December morning, found correspondence between Lieutenant Webb and Army Command describing the slingshot tactics in detail. Webb's letters, preserved in National Archives storage, described how Baker Company's innovation spread through the 101st Airborne, how other units adopted similar techniques, how German snipers reported increasing difficulty maintaining positions. Statistical analysis revealed the impact. American casualties from sniper fire in the Bastogne sector dropped 43% between December 17th and December 24th, 1944. German after-action reports noted decreased sniper effectiveness due to American counter-sniper innovation. Wehrmacht tactical assessments recommended doctrine revisions to address non-standard projectile harassment, The innovation saved lives. Impossible to quantify exactly how many, but conservative estimates suggested at least 60 American soldiers survived encounters with German snipers because of distraction tactics originating from a 17-year-old's childhood toy. Morrison published her findings in the Journal of Military History, October 1989, Improvised Warfare, Non-Standard Tactical Innovation at Bastogne. The article sparked academic interest. Military analysts studied the case as example of asymmetric warfare, of innovation under pressure, of cultural factors enabling tactical adaptation. Jimmy Walker read the article at age 62, sitting in his Detroit living room, grandchildren playing in the backyard. He called Dr. Morrison, told her the story from his perspective, provided details no official report captured. Morrison visited him 3 times, recorded interviews, documented everything. She asked why he'd thought of using a slingshot. "Grew up black in Detroit, ma'am," Jimmy explained. "You learn early that conventional solutions don't always work for you. You learn to improvise. Use what you got. Make it count." That cultural context, African-American experience, requiring creative problem-solving, resourcefulness born from necessity, refusal to accept limitations, became crucial to understanding why Jimmy's innovation succeeded where conventional tactics failed. The slingshot itself, Elijah's gift, survived the war. Jimmy kept it in his workshop for 53 years. When he died in 1998, his daughter donated it to the National Weapon Museum in New Orleans. It sits in a display case now, accompanied by Morrison's research, Webb's letters, and photographs of Baker Company. School groups visit. Veterans stop and stare. Historians photograph it for research. The placard reads, "Improvised Distraction Device, December 1944, used by PFC James Walker, 101st Airborne, to neutralize German sniper positions during the Siege of Bastogne. Represents American innovation, resourcefulness, and the contributions of African-American soldiers whose tactical creativity often went unrecognized." The broader legacy extended beyond one artifact. Military academies now teach the Bastogne slingshot case in asymmetric warfare courses. The principle that unconventional thinking can defeat superior conventional force became foundational to modern special operations doctrine. But perhaps the most important legacy was human. Jimmy Walker proved something fundamental, that courage doesn't require conventional weapons, that innovation matters more than firepower, that ordinary people equipped with creativity and determination can accomplish extraordinary things. His grandson, Marcus Webb Walker, named for the lieutenant who trusted a teenager's crazy idea, graduated West Point in 2003, served in Afghanistan, now teaches military history at the Command and General Staff College. He keeps a photograph of his grandfather in his office. Young Jimmy, 17 years old, Detroit, 1944, holding his brother's slingshot, grinning at the camera before shipping out. "He saved 41 men with rubber and stones," Marcus tells his students. "Remember that when someone tells you a problem can't be solved. Remember that when conventional solutions fail. Remember that innovation, courage, and willingness to try the impossible. That's what Americans do when everything's on the line." That slingshot changed history. If stories like Jimmy Walker's inspire you, tales of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, of innovation against impossible odds, of courage that doesn't fit in textbooks, then smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling us what improvised solution you'd try in Jimmy's situation. Share this story with someone who needs to hear that unconventional thinking can save lives. Hit the bell icon so you never miss another incredible true story from World War II. We dive deep into history's forgotten heroes every week. Join us.